Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. In this video I have for you Game 6 of the homemade multiplayer campaign ran by Primus Pilus. If you'd like more information, make sure to check the links in the description. Previously, the Soviets went for their unlock battle. They weren't successful, so they don't have a 2nd Guards Tank Corps battle group to use in the midline. That means it's now the Axe's turn again, and as the commander, I've decided to go for take 2 on the midline. So we are going to be pushing for the Allied middle. If we win, then we'll be 1 turn away from attacking the Allied base. If we lose, then we'll stay where we are on the front line once again. So the divisions are back to normal. The Axis side has 1 5th Panzer battle group plus 3 25th Panzer Grenadier battle groups. And the Soviet side will have all 44th Guards Rifles battle groups since they have failed their unlock battles. Still all to play for in this conquest game on Lipen. On the Axis side, my fellow leaders are Lycus, Happy and Desert Fox. On the Soviet side, we have the Knife Guy, Robot Penguin, Tankol and Copenhagen. So there are a couple of new faces in this battle, as you can see, but unfortunately I did record this one live, but I had some technical issues. What that means is I'm going to record the replay as a post-commentary once again. Let's get into it. Let me first take you through the strategy I set up for our team. So the team offensive objectives are going to be the 3 in the center. The one on the left town here, the one just above the hill, and the one to the top right of the hill. The crossroads, the T-junction, and the town. Those were the designated team objectives that I wanted us to hold by the end of the game in order to win. But let's go through individual orders. On the left hand side, my job was to put up a skeleton force that could potentially hold back things on this hill. This hill is notoriously hard to hold from this side of the map, but I was going to give it my best go with the troops that I had available, which isn't that many. You get a very limited amount of infantry in the commander deck. But I am of course backed up by Lycus. He's going to be providing me with some extra forces to help out as well. Some pioneers, some MGs that can keep back the enemy from range. He's also bringing up a 20 mil to the left hand side. There's a little bit of AA there. I've got a Panzer III also coming up to help out. My mortars are placed over on this left side as well to help support this defense, as well as an attack into the town. So Happy and Lycus are pushing into this town, and Happy and Lycus basically were working together from this river all the way to this flag on the right hand side, with Lycus more focusing on the left by securing this objective and the hill, and then Lycus, his secondary objective, or I guess his main objective, was to secure the hill by the end of Phase A, so that when he gets into Phase B he can get some Tigers and Panthers to the edge of these tree lines and have amazing line of sight over these fields in order to help him secure these objectives and cut off any reinforcements. So that's Lycus's plan, and then Happy, as well as just holding the front, she was basically tasked with initially attacking the town and then helping try and secure the right side of this hill. Meanwhile, on the far right, we have Desert Fox. And Desert Fox, his primary objectives were to just hold this flag on just the right side of the river here, the town objective on our side, and also the forest objective. But these 3 objectives on the right hand side, Desert Fox was responsible for. Then secondary objective for him, if he had a chance to push, was to take the offensive town objective, as well as the objective on the other side of the river in the forest. So Desert Fox here, basically left to his own devices, whilst myself, Lycus and Happy are going to work with each other to make sure that we're making ground early enough in order to get the Tigers and Panthers into position. Well, I'm not necessarily helping with that task, I'm more just doing my best to hold back Tiger here, or the Knife Guy, on the left hand side. I've already got my mortars coming in, they're going to be hitting the OBs. He's going to be moving forwards with the T-34-85 and the M3A1 Razvedka. As the Peli are pushing forwards onto the Pioneers here, that's going to be a straight up trade. You can see here, Lycus is not moving. Neither did the knife guy. Unfortunately, the machine guns coming in from the Pioneers managed to help suppress the Zafari more, so the Pioneers win out this time around. I'm just keeping my Pak 38 hidden. I've also got this Pak 38 hidden on the left hand side with the intention to potentially ambush the T-34-85 in the future. But if I show that now, then the OB is probably going to shoot it. So I didn't really want to rely on the AT gun, so instead I'm going to be bringing in an ME-410 to go for that snipe in the early game before our opponents have potentially bought any fighters or AA. This is the best time to do it, and a one-shot bailout the T-34-85. I'm happy with that. You can see already some AA coming in. I do take a crit, which makes my ME-410 almost immediately fall back. There's a couple AA pieces there doing a lot of damage, but my ME-410's gonna get out for now. So Panzergrens, they are demolishing these Tanko Desaniki, and my Pak 38 snuck forwards to finish off the T-34-85. Gonna have to be careful though, there is an Su-152 as well as the OB. Gonna take a shot at the Su-152, managed to get the transmission damage. I was lucky that the Su-152 was actually firing at the Panzergrens instead of the Pak 38, but this second OB got the job done, so plenty of support here is just going to ruin my Panzergrens and the Pak 38, and we're already under pressure. My Panzergrens on the left hand side are also going to go down, so it's only a Panzergrenführer now holding this hill, which is obviously not good. For the left side, I was basically prepared to cede this, but I really wanted to make sure that we'd taken an offensive objective in return, so either the town or in the center. So Lycus here now bringing in some troops to try and secure the middle section a little better, but Robot Penguin's going to be shooting that road with the T-34-76 1942, which is a really smart job here, and you can see that Lycus is going to be losing quite a few troops before unloading, because this Stug hadn't quite got into position yet from Happy, but Happy going to be cleaning up that T-34 nicely, and now engaging the Gvardia from a distance. Infantry engagement in the forest on the center. It's going to be Tanko and Robot Penguin moving together with some units against a bunch of Panzergrenadier, as well as the Stostrup with MP44s. At this range, the Stostrup with MP44s are absolutely deadly, especially with 3-star veterancy provided by the Pioneer Führer here. And there's also a Stug now attacking on the right hand side. So the Panzergrens, they're not very well pinned, and they're just going to be pushing forwards and crushing those Gvardia in the process. Meanwhile, on the right side, Desert Fox has got into a quite nice position here. He's got a line of Panzergrenadiers backed up by MG42s. That's really nice because it allows him to control the ranged engagement. If he ever wants to fall back with the Panzergrens, he doesn't have to be worried about things necessarily chasing him, because the MG42s will open up and start to pin those down. Either way, on the left hand side, all of my units are just falling apart slowly but surely. My Panzergrens here, they did end up engaging a unit and paid for it. Took a massive hit. Now it's up to Lycus's skeleton forces further back to hold the ground. So I've got a Pak 40 here, and so has Lycus. We both have them holding fire so that they don't reveal themselves by shooting infantry, and that way the OBs can't kill them off. The Yak 3 going to be coming in with a strafing run onto the Panzer 3. Wants to reduce that effectiveness so that he can push onto it with units at close range. Got another Pak 40 here. That's going to be attack moving across into the light cover. Can provide the HE support onto enemy infantry, as well as killing these T-34-85s. Now unfortunately, T-34-85 getting right into the face of the Panzer 3. Going to have to just back off as quickly as possible. Going to be bringing up some more 20mm flaks on the left hand side here. Lycus has this one already down, which is fine, and also the one like in the town that was brought in with it. I'm now bringing in a couple further right just so we can stop any future strafing runs. Don't want them to be commonplace. Got a couple Pak 38s, and the intention here is now to just cede the hill and just set up a defensive perimeter so that if they ever want to come off the hill, we can absolutely demolish them. Meanwhile, my 120mm mortars are going to be putting their focus onto the town objective so that Happy and Lycus can push up with their troops. You can see Lycus has brought up a Opal Blitz munition, but it's not loading yet. I believe it was a little bit bugged. You need to sometimes stop or move and then stop the supply vehicles manually to make them actually supply. So I sat here for a little while without any HE on my 120mm, which isn't ideal. Regardless, Pack 38 is going to come in on the left side. I've also got the 20mm there as well. And there's also a Panzergren kind of just sat on this road. I believe that probably stayed there for a little while. But yeah, I do eventually tell Lycus to sort out the supply truck there. But in the meantime, they are starting to take good control of the hill. Happy moving up here with the Stugs. And basically holding that whilst Lycus is adding units to the left-hand side. We do see an idle T-3485 on the left side of the town. They're going to be hitting that with the ME-410. And I do manage to get the armor crack. We're going to be flying towards the Yak-3, so I'm going to be able to avoid the fighter shooting us down. And we actually ended up killing off the other Yak-3 on the far left side. So that's one fighter down already. Yak-3 going to be able to turn around and come back onto the ME-410 in time, which is unfortunate. We do still have a lot of 20mm here. And there goes down the second Yak-3. So we do manage to take down 2 fighters for 1 ME-410. I also managed to kill the T-3485. So I'm not too annoyed about that trade. Obviously losing the ME-410 in the long run is unfortunate. But as you move later into the game, generally there is more AA. So using up your attack aircraft early on, it's not always a bad choice. ME-410 there, coming in with a strafing run onto the OB. Lycus move forwards the Panzergrens to finish it off. Really nice little play there. Panzergrens trying to take control of the light cover here and the Gavardia. And you can see already that Happy's Stug up on this hill is putting pressure onto the reinforcement road on the right hand side that may eventually allow us to control this crossroad. And this hill in general is just so important for us to control because we give the left side hill to the opposing side, and so this game became all about who could control their high ground the best. And of course it's more important for them, I guess, to contest the center because we can control more points from the center. Although saying that, I guess they could control quite a lot from this left side. There are a lot of points they can potentially push on in the open here. They do have a few buildings nearby that you can kind of hide things next to. Anyway, these Grenadiers, Panzergrens, you can see as they move forwards now, they've taken up position with the Su-152 on the edge of this hill. And that has a beautiful view. To just pop any infantry, and that time round, the Opal Blitz just getting annihilated as it tries to move into the front side of these trees. I probably brought it in to just unload there, but didn't unload it in time, so paid for that, unfortunately. IL-2M going to be coming in to the center and going for some rocket strikes there. Doesn't look like it used its rockets in that attack. There is quite a bit of AA here, so that's going to make those less accurate when they attack, but still able to fire the rocket. So the Stug going to be showing side armor. Happy uses the reverse command to face front armor, avoids the IL-2 getting the kill. Nicely done. I brought in a Panzergren on the right just to kind of assist Desert Fox's left flank. Don't unload those for a while either. As the commander, what I'm doing here is I'm looking at the map like this for most of the game, and I'm bringing in my artillery. You can see I brought in some here as well, and that's just going to be used to find targets like this 37mm, for example, you know, tanks, groups of tanks, maybe like AT guns and stuff, and just basically kill those for my team. Like, as the commander role, your job is quite simply to support your team with artillery and provide the strategic direction. So far, our strategic direction isn't going too well. I didn't realize quite how badly ceding the left side hill would affect our attack onto this town, because I assumed that by us controlling the right hand side we'd be able to put on as much pressure, but it didn't quite work out that way. And the main reason for that is because of this road. our reinforcements come in a lot closer to the town than theirs do. So from the right hand side, we can't cut off this reinforcement road. So they can just get into the back of this town, no problem, unless we have units here, which are out in the open, that then can be shot from the left hand side. So overall, the Soviet side on this map has an advantage over the town and over this objective if you seed the hill in the first place, which was part of the initial objectives. So, well, not necessarily objectives, obviously we didn't want to seed the hill for free, but we put a skeleton force here and forced them to break that down in order to take the hill, but they did quite effectively. So they've held on to this hill for a long time already. We've managed to get onto the right side hill, but Tigers take a while to get to the front line, and Lycus here can't get too close to the left hand side, so he's having to like detour his tanks off the road because otherwise stuff just ends up getting killed. And you see the amount of Opel blitzes here that ended up getting shot and killed trying to move up and reinforce the town, just because of things like this 85 mil that's moving up there, the 76 mil on the hill, there's his 3s. You see that Opel blitz also got destroyed, but the Panzergrenz getting out with one man alive, the lone survivor, going to be running his way to that objective just to secure it. So we're 13 to 13 anyway. We've seeded this objective. We've actually captured this objective now. So great job by Happy to get those infantry up on the edge of the hill. There's not really enough presence on the edge of the hill now to stop the T-34s getting close, and this is a problem. At range, the Tigers, they have all the advantage in the world. They can pop T-34 1943s for days, but up close and personal, the T-34 85s, they can really trade 1 for 1, which is not cost efficient at all for the Axis side, since a Tiger costs 120 points and a T-34 85 1943 costs 85 points. And if you keep trading 1 for 1, you're going to end up at a huge deficit. So ME2 or 410, sorry, going to be coming in with the 50mm AP gun once again to take shots at these T-34 85s as the Tigers engage. My plan here is to either crit them or kill them so that the Tigers can finish them off. And the Tigers did manage to kill one. Quite a lot of AA in the middle here, I discover. And, well, the 37mm is going to shoot that down. TU-2S is coming in from Tanko. That's bombs away. Put in pressure onto the fortifications of Happy. All these support weapons going to take bombs to the face. So there goes the IG-18. There's also the PaK-38s and so on. These Yak-1Bs, not the biggest bombs in the world. I think they are the ones with the 2 50-kilogram bombs. So nothing crazy. IL-2 coming in again for the shot onto the Tiger E. Both sides have quite a lot of AA. It's just the IL-2s and the TU-2Ss are a little more resilient to AA than an ME410, and also the caliber of the AA is different in this case, so we're relying quite heavily on 20mm in the early game until I can get my SDKFZ7-1s online, which are the flak-fillings, and they have 37mm pretty much from the start, so 37mm generally do a bit more damage. Either way, things not looking too good as there is a push coming in to the left side town. I'm trying to hold that as best I can. And my Panzergrenz, and Lycus is going to be pushing some extra forces in here as well. Meanwhile on the right, Desert Fox is doing his best to actually push up, which wasn't something that I really expected him to be able to do, but he was certainly giving it a good go. Like, as I mentioned at the start, his main objective was just to be defensive, and if he could get offensive, that's great. So he's really going above and beyond here on the right hand side, and fantastic job by him so far to contest this objective and basically keep us in the game, because we are now losing 14 to 12 with the objective being lost on the left hand side. It's not the end of the world yet, but as you can see, 23 minutes and 10 seconds until a minor defeat. The PaK-40 going to be brought up to help defend the edge of this hill. I'll get these Tiger E's up here, and you can see because they have the cover from the left hand side and they have this reinforcement road, loads of infantry's been coming in here, and it's eventually pushed out Happy, who now has her full attention on the right hand side of the hill, where Robot Penguin is building up a massive amount of T-34s at close range. I've got all of my 150mm SFHs unloaded and good to go. I did accidentally here give them a move order rather than a fire position order, so they are just going for a little walk. But that's okay for the time being. I'm just going to be bringing up some Pack 40s now, again to assist the other Pack 40. And if there's one thing I do have, it's quite a lot of AT guns, so I'm going to be using those to support my teammates. They can provide the infantry that I don't have, and the tanks, of course. But the left side still looking pretty nasty. I was doing my best to try and mortar those. You can see that we've actually ended up using up the entirety of Lycus's supply truck. So I'm going to be bringing in a fresh one. And this is a bit deceiving. One thing that I would say, just as a general tip in Steel Division, make sure you double check where your stuff's coming in. Because here, the Opel Blitz is going to go straight into the firing line of this hill in order to get round to these 120mm mortars. Now, thankfully, these units are more likely to be distracted by infantry or tanks, but this is still not good practice. Ideally, I should have made sure it came in on the left-hand road so I could have just driven it up there much more directly. Regardless, Pack 40s are now attack moving into position. Going to be firing at this 37mm from range now with the HE shells from the Pack 40 as well. We've got 3 that are just all pushing to the edge with the intention to break down the T-34-85s and allow Lycus to push up his Tigers, because at the moment if he pushes up these Tigers, all that's going to happen is they're just going to get overwhelmed, especially at this range. So within, say, 1,000 meters, the effectiveness between Tiger E's and T-34-85 starts to balance out. I've really got to try and kill off as many as I can so the Tigers maintain the advantage. But the SFH 150mm are now firing away. My SK100 I'm using to counter battery. So I don't have the counter battery order on because it wasn't allowed in the multiplayer campaign. We decided that it wasn't really fun gameplay to allow the counter battery order. So all counter battery order was manual. But the SFH 150mm, they're going to be tasked with breaking down these 85mm AA pieces and enemy tanks and so on. And the reason you use 150mm for attacking like these units is because not only are they stronger in HE, but they have more dispersion. So that's not great. You basically want less dispersion if you want to snipe at long range. And that's what the SK100s have, because they have a much longer barrel than the 150mm. So the 150mm, they have the power, but a little more dispersion, and the 100mm, they are the accurate sniping counter battery. So on this right hand side, Desert Fox has managed to more or less secure the offensive town objective, and also put pressure onto the point on the left side of the town here. So it's 13-13. But all thanks to Desert Fox so far, as we have still not captured back the point on the left. We've lost the town here, and we've now been pushed back in the center. Lycus's Tigers are in quite a bit of trouble, and these Pack 40s are coming under constant artillery and airstrikes. So that's not good at all. So Flak 38, they're going to do their best to try and prevent these Yak 1Bs, but if anything heavier comes in, like this IL-2 for example, we're going to really struggle to shoot them down. So how do we deal with that? Well, time to bring in the SDKFZ-71s. As the 25th Panzer Grenadier commander, I'm more or less the only person in our match here that has decent AA on the Axis side. I don't think that the other 25th Panzergrens had any SDKFZ-71s as far as I'm aware. Maybe Lycus did, but I think it was mostly just 20mm that we had to try and vet up as much as possible to do damage. So we are a little bit at a disadvantage, and you can see that in the early game they're taking advantage of that so far. With the Tiger here, that's going to be pushing forwards with not much morale, which is not so good. Might be able to get a nice shot off here. And does miss. Shots from the T-34-85s are going to go onto the MG42, but if those were HE, they can always re-aim and hit with AP straight away. IL-2M going to be coming in with a rocket strike. Lycus micros back and avoids that from hitting his side armor. But now we are 15 to 11, as of course on this right hand side Copenhagen is still trying his best to contest Desert Fox as Desert Fox continues to apply the pressure. Completely lost this objective now and the town, so it's quite pivotal at this point that we start to really take control of this hill and start to make some plays from it, but so far not looking good. Nice concentration of units on the hill, nothing really on the left hand side. We are barely holding on here. Just got a few loose units of Panzer Grenadiers holding back the town. Then I'm just going to continuously hit with mortar fire in order to slowly but surely break down the infantry on that side. I've moved my SDKF Z71s off the road on purpose, and you can see I made them hug the trees here, so I didn't get into range of the units on the left hand side. And now once these are set up, we should be able to do a decent amount of damage to any incoming aircraft. My SFH 150 mils once again going to be just trying to take out any enemy AA I see, and then whenever I have mortars that I see coming in, I'm just hitting them with the one SK100 I have. And I now have two of them, so they both are on a control order, and then I have the 150 mils on a second control order. I've also got a 220 mil now back here, and these are big old artillery guns. They have 11 damage. Look at that, absolute beast. Boom. These, when they hit the mark, do tons of damage, and they also have reduced dispersion, so I'm using them for counter battery there at the moment. Now I managed to get a gun jam onto one of the T-34-85s, that's nice. This T-34-85 is currently engine damaged and turret stuck, so both of those T-34-85s are more or less out of commission at the moment. Lycus is starting to bring up his Panthers now, and you can see he's also brought up the Aufkläder Panther D, which will be useful for spotting infantry, but as well as that, just a bunch of Panzer IVs. There is some more Tigers coming in behind those, and Happy's still bringing in the Stugs from the 25th Panzergren. And now we have the SDKF Z71s online, and well, goodbye to the Yak-1Bs as they come in for those bombing strikes. Both of them shot straight out of the sky. Our AA net is ready to go. Admittedly, I reckon as a team we could have collectively put more AA in the center early on, because looking back at this replay previously, I noticed that we managed to let them get away with a lot of airstrikes for a very long time in this game, and if we'd shut them down earlier on, we might have had a better hold on this top area, and therefore would be in position to have the Tigers and Panthers on the edge of the hill at this point and pushing down into these offensive objectives. Because if those planes hadn't been coming in, they wouldn't have been killing the tanks with the IL-2s, and they wouldn't have been able to bomb the support weapons, of course, with the Yak-1s and also the Tu-2Ss. And more infantry going to be coming in here. I've got another 220 mil coming in on the right hand side, and another one here as well. These 220 mils are just so damn good. Really, really nice artillery. I'm actually putting all of my SFH 150 mils now onto counter battery, just targeting any concentration of artillery that I can see, because we need the support weapons here to stay alive, and I also don't want them, of course, killing my AA. And since our opponent here was focusing my AA quite a bit, I was managing to keep track of a lot of the shells coming in. Anyway, the IL-2M comes in, gets shot down. Frontally, those IL-2Ms aren't as strong, so if you get a full burst of an SDKF Z71 in, you can really do a lot of damage. Now, whenever I see an aircraft come in, I do actually give my SDKF Z71s and other AA pieces in general in Steel Division attack move orders. And the reason you do that is because they'll provide you with the AA still but they'll always end up in a different position to where they fired from, which means if your opponent's looking to RT your AA, it's always going to miss the mark, and you can see that's exactly what's happening here. We've got artillery coming in to try and hit where the SDKFZ71s were. Same deal here, but my SDKFZ71's got an attack move order forwards for the time being, which does put it in a relatively precarious position if the T-3485 pushes up, but at the end of the day, the Panther A and the Tiger E would be the first target of the T-3485, not the SDKFZ71. So the concentration of tanks on this left side is starting to build up. Lycus is getting into a position to start breaking down the T-3485s from the left-hand side. If he pushes up here and then to the right side of this town, he can start to put pressure onto this road and any T-3485s that are close to the bottom of this hill, which will then eventually allow us to take care of these light trees and ultimately end up controlling the open ground. So Desert Fox still holding on to the right hand side, still contesting these objectives, and it's so vital in this game that Desert Fox really did hold on to these, so just such a good job by him. Anyway, big old Tu-2S bombing strike coming in. We do of course have a lot of AA now, but it's not really going to be enough to shoot down all of those aircraft. Now this is really the way to do it if you want to break through strong enemy AA like that. Get bombers, get a lot of them all at once, make sure they're relatively spread, and then you can really overwhelm AA. Now in our case, we don't have any 88s up, but 88s are probably the best way to deal with bombers in general. So the SDKFZ71s don't really cut it. The SDKFZ71s though are fantastic for killing fighters, of course. Now in order to help secure the edge of this hill once the Panthers and Tigers have pushed up, I'm bringing up some PaK-43s here. As you can see, I'm towing those in, and those are going to spread out across the edge, and they can pop these T-3485s quite easily, like one-shot them in the frontal armor. And that's going to allow the Panthers to focus on basically anything else, which is fine. But we're still on a bit of a time limit here. It's 14 to 12, and our opponents are going to win in 13 minutes and 41 seconds if it continues as it is. So I couldn't tell you exactly when, but at some point in this game, I basically told the team to forget about the left side objective. I think it might have already happened by now, and just focus on taking the hill so that we could then take this objective, which would be quite easy to control if we had this light forest. And then also the crossroads, because from up here we can shoot down the reinforcement road quite well. So that was the ultimate plan, and that's why we're so concentrated in the center, even though it's away from these left side points, because pushing onto these left side points is very difficult with our opponents holding on to the hill. Knife Guy did a good job of taking that and then applying a lot of pressure from the hill, and even managing to break through into the town here. I ended up placing quite a few AT guns and different weapons further back alongside Lycus, and you can see as he tries to overextend with Gavardia, they are going to start taking quite a bit of damage. So big old IL-2 strike coming in there. My ME-410 I actually brought in as a heavy fighter to try and shoot down some of the IL-2s, but let that get a bit too far as I'll probably microing elsewhere, and that's just taking a lot of damage. Both the 85 mils and the 37 mils getting involved, and well, that took an 85 to the face. Down it goes. Looks beautiful, but obviously not the outcome we were looking for. Now unfortunately what ended up happening here, you can see all of my trucks ended up getting killed, all of the SDKFZs, because this was being artied due to my AA previously being there. So the AA had fired from this position. Our opponents had basically tried to counter battery or kill off the the AA, and then what happened was I brought my PaK-43s through straight into where the AA came in. And this is why I basically tell people never to deploy any form of artillery on roads, but in this case it also applies to AA, because this is quite an important reinforcing road. Not placing AA here was probably my bad. But all of the SDKFZ71's still alive, and as long as we keep them up, the IL-2s are going to be less effective, and we're going to be in a good position. So, That's all well and good. I've also brought up a commander now that's going to be providing 2 stars of veterancy to the SDKFZ 7-1s. The IL-2 there, taking a lot of damage, is going to go down. And if we can just keep shooting down these IL-2s without them trading for a tank, then I'm very, very happy. And Pack 43s in the meantime are just going to have to push their way forward since all of their transports more or less got killed. This SDKFZ-7 is still alive, but I don't really want to risk like pulling that all the way up with the infantry still in this tree line, because they do have PTRDs and those PTRDs can kill these quite easily. Either way, starting to make a little progress here. Appy's managed to get down the hill towards this heavy cover, and this heavy cover is actually quite vital for controlling this crossroad, like, as well as holding the high ground. Because from the high ground here, you can see the line of sight's a bit dodgy. You don't really have any cover to fire from, except from on like the right hand side, and that only covers to the left. So you have to basically hold like a tank line here. You can't put it, or like any AT, you have to put it out in the open. You can't put it in the trees. So holding this is good for support weapons and AT, and then you can have the tanks behind up on the hill that snipe the units from range. Anyway, we're back to 13-13. Desert Fox slowly but surely breaking through Copenhagen on the right hand side, getting the pioneers up here to take the heavy cover. Done a fantastic job here so far, and continuously contesting this forest as well. So he's controlling these 4 objectives for us, which is keeping things even. And the 13th point came from taking control of the junction here. So Lycus has now finally got his Tigers into position after the big old duel up and down this hill. And now he's starting to basically overwhelm any T-34s that are coming towards us. So that's evening things out. But of course, we are still at a disadvantage. We have way less tickets than our opponents. We're going to have to find a lead somewhere. And meanwhile, Knife Guy is going to be pushing the left-hand side, bringing in a Yak 1B in this case. I do have quite a lot of 20 mils, so we're going to shoot that Yak 1B down. I do have the Stug 3G here, providing veterancy to one of them. SDK's at 11 flat, going to have to fall back. One of the IL-2Ms down, make that 2. Looks like Lycus here, he did lose one of the Tigers on the edge of the hill, but the other one's going to survive for now. But check out these burning wrecks. All of the Panthers pushing forwards. It just looks awesome. Dead Pack 40. Dead SDKFZ 11. Another Panther. And meanwhile, you've got like my Pack 43 being pushed forwards by the absolute hench mofos who carry it. Another Pack 40 down here. There's an aircraft wreck. This whole top of this hill became absolutely awesome to look at. Regardless, on the right hand side, Desert Fox doing a good job of having his own AA net up, because I couldn't really commit to putting any AA for him on the right hand side, so him having to deal with all of that himself was a job well done. Because all of my SDKFZ 7-1s were in the center more or less. I think in total I had 4, and as you can see there are 4 here. Unfortunately, this SDKFZ 11 is not long for this world, as the artillery shell comes in and knocks it out. And we're already down to 2 or 3 SDKFZ 11s now. I did have to spread them out, but the initial intention was actually to use the commander whilst they were together. But in order to defend the left, I'm going to use my ME410s. Now, the great thing about using bombers in this case is that their AA is going to be quite far back if they are overextended in a push. So I was trying to take advantage of that with the ME410s to get these bombing strikes in. So just using 1 bomber on each unit to just make sure they can't make any ground. And then potentially I could move forwards to Stug 3, for example, and try and side shot a T-34-85 or whatever else. But these Gavadi are still making ground. Going to take out one of my packs. But no objective on this left-hand side, so not too worried about the Knife Guy taking this area. I'm more worried about him taking this area, which is why the bomber's focused on the right-hand side. Anyway, with Happy getting into these trees, you can see we're now contesting the crossroads. We're also still contesting this objective, and any units in the open from Tanko that are trying to push up are now getting hit pretty badly. My Pack 43s have eventually got into position. It's still 13 to 13 as Desert Fox is having to contest his left flank. And even though he's done a great job so far, he's had a lot of weight on his shoulders, that's for sure. He's been propping up the team massively. Copenhagen's not been giving him an easy fight. There we go, 14 to 12, and that's what we love to see. My plan finally coming together. With Lycus getting all of these Panthers and Tigers concentrated on the hill, we now have pretty much a fortress that can potentially just hold down this area for the rest of the game. Because the T-34-85s are never going to be good enough to take it back, as long as you keep the Panthers alive. And the only other way that they can break down the Panthers is with IL-2s. And we've already shot down a lot of them, but they could still shoot the rest of our SDKZ-11 or 7.1s with artillery and kill those, and then come in with aircraft again. That's what they're currently trying to do. They're really focusing heavily on AA. So I've lost an SDKZ-71. I think Lycus lost one of his with his 5th Panzer. And of course, as I mentioned previously, I don't think the other 25th units or battle groups under the command of Happy and Desert Fox have any SDKZ-11 flags. They only have 20 mils. Anyway, unfortunately I didn't manage to hold on to this flag. My leader unit that was there did end up getting killed. I believe that was actually my commander potentially. But anyway, I'm just going to have to break down the Sapari and hopefully take that back. We're also trying to get some units of Lycus into this objective, because if we can turn around this objective here and this objective in the open by just hiding an infantry squad behind or whatever, then that will actually be 15 to 11, so we'd have a really nice advantage. But of course you saw there the SU-152 just obliterated the Pioneers as they came close. Now since I have a really nice AA net here, I am happy to just fly around my recon aircraft over the center. It also does actually give the 85 mils something to shoot at that's not my Pack 43s or the Tigers. But the mortars being shown there, the 82mm mortars, the concentration of artillery on the opposing side is really starting to rack up. So I'm going to continue the counter battery wherever I can, although in this case the SK-100s are actually targeting the 88s, because obviously I don't want them to kill Tigers, or Lycus, sorry, Panthers and Tigers. So good job by Desert Fox there, just popping a tank in the trees. GV Comrotti might end up taking out that Pack 38 if he's not too careful, but as you can see in my air tab on the bottom left, we got a lot of ME-410s to rely on, and I can use them to potentially take back the left hand side, although I've managed to do that with one Panzergren so far and the support of a couple Tigers from Lycus. Now the 120 mils on the left spotted some artillery firing from left to right, so you can see I've given them a few orders, and the dispersion's pretty good, so I'm able to just place the order kind of in the center of the three, and any shots that kind of miss will still hit. So you can see that dispersion is huge, but with any luck I'll maybe get a few hits or just end up pinning them down. Now I've got a big old bombing strike coming in here, the ME-410 bomber wing coming in. I'm just going to obliterate whatever's behind these buildings, because there was some sort of infantry here that was holding that and stopping the Pioneers from getting the cap. So I made sure to just bomb the crap out of it, as you can see, and it did appear to work for the time being. I managed to take back the left. Lycus has got his Pioneer into position here that's not in line of sight of the T-34-85, and now it's 15 to 11. We've got a decent advantage. So that's great. Now we just got to hold on to our advantage, and Desert Fox is continuing his aggression on the right hand side with a bunch of these Stugs coming in. My artillery is still going to work. We've just taken out the other AA on the left hand side there. Whenever I saw those, I was just trying to take them out ASAP, because they really can cut down tanks very quickly. The 120 mils, they're going for another order in the same place. Again, due to the dispersion, got to keep firing, and I'm just bringing in more and more Opal Blitz to resupply these. We've currently used up 3 Opal Blitz, as you can see, to resupply the mortars. And over here, you can see all of these multi-ammunition trucks have used up the majority of their supply so far. I've just been really on point with my artillery throughout this game, and I've also got the 220 mils at the back. They're all going to be firing wherever we see a unit as well, because these are much more accurate. These are like having SFH 100 mils, but also with like crazy high damage, so I was able to do that. 152 mil coming across the open there is going to get sniped by the Pack 40. I was also, I think, previously just focusing on like an AA unit there. It ended up killing off the second off map, which was really nice. So the Stosstroop, really nice by Happy here. Those Stosstroop coming in from the left hand side. Going to do a lot of damage against any infantry left out in the open. So look at these Gavardia just drop health. Unfortunately for Happy's Stosstroop, there is a couple of tanks there that don't have anything to do about that. They can maybe molly it if it got close, but the molly wouldn't really get any kills in the end. Anyway, as you can see, I've got the 3 SDKFZ 7-1s at the moment bumped up around my commander, so that we can annihilate any aircraft that come in to maybe try and hit Lycus's tanks. And on this left hand side, we're just chilling now. We basically conceded the town, just going to hold this objective, maybe try and push for this objective again at some point, but ultimately we need to hold this one in order to win. Alright, coming in with the MU410s now. My intention was to try and kill some of the Su-152s on that hill so that we could then get infantry to that flag, but I lost both of the MU410s in the process and we only killed one Su-152, so not the best strike in the world, that's for sure. My mortar's going to be used to hit those as well though. MU410s coming back online, my bombers, and I was constantly looking at targets for them as well. Yak 3 is going to be flying over Desert Fox's AA network, as Desert Fox brings in his own bomber support. And honestly, the autonomy that I gave Desert Fox really paid off throughout this game. He just really did a great job of taking the initiative, taking the offensive objectives. I just can't really say it enough. He really kept us in this game, because without those offensive objectives, it was already game over. Now, of course, our opponents were putting a lot of effort into taking this side. You can see Tanko's got some stuff here, we've got Robot Penguin got some stuff here. So 3 players, I would say, kind of pushed into this area, whilst we kind of deployed more on the right side. And Copenhagen was just kind of probably tasked with defending this side against Desert Fox. So yeah, things kind of ended up balancing out, and that's why you can see this 13-13 balancing act at the moment. Even though it looks like we've lost the entirety of the left-hand side, which we basically have, but at the end of the day we're controlling a lot of the flags on the right-hand side instead, and that's where I'm starting to basically tell everybody to push. So Lycus is coming in here, I'm coming in here, Hab is here, and then Desert Fox is on our right side. So Desert Fox just supports our right flank, while all 3 of us now push towards this flag. I really wanted this flag back. Cannot stress enough, we wanted the crossroads. The Su-152 is going to get popped, so I managed to take out a T-34-85 as well in the trees, which was really nice. MU-410 unfortunately gets caught in a little bit of a sticky spot. It made an attack where we had sort of like a weak spot, I guess, in the AA, and the Yak 3 was actually able to shoot down the MU-410 before it then went to evac and went over all of the 20 mils and dies. So yeah, a little bit unlucky on the pathing for my MU-410 when it left, but ultimately should have identified that there wasn't much AA here to begin with. And my Panzergren's just going to be trying to sneak up. And with these Panzergrens, I'm going to be looking to spread out through these trees in order to control this heavy forest, which will then put us closer to the crossroads and therefore give us the flag. Happy's going to be bringing in per ME410 bombing wing as my Panzergrens arrive, and the timing was pretty much impeccable. If I select all these Panzergrens, you can see my orders as I shift them to unload at each point further up the tree line, and then I'm giving them attack move orders to carry on as soon as they've unloaded. I do end up unloading this one early just to stop the ZIS-3 from getting the kill. Then the SFH-150s, yeah, they've used up a lot of ammunition. They're still firing away. Unfortunately, I do lose one of the Mortiers there. On the left side, I've moved the 120mm into a different position since they kept getting counter-batteried. Moved the Opel Blitz away. I think Lykes' Opel Blitz ended up dying, but this one's now resupplying those. And yeah, I'm just kind of chilling on that left-hand side until Knife Guy decides to push. Anyway, Lykes coming in with more units here for the hill. He's just going to keep these units up here. See just how many wrecks there are. Look at that. It's absolutely awesome. You've got the burn-in wreck of a Panther next to the T-3485. And then you got the units that are alive next to the units that aren't. Imagine having to like climb this hill and identify. If you came up here, imagine trying to identify, say you were this T-34, imagine trying to identify which one was actually alive. Then you got so many Tiger wrecks and Panther wrecks, and then you got like one random Panther that's actually still able to fire. You would just be screwed. It would just pop you in the face. In real life, that is. Anyway, came with a huge bombing strike again on the left-hand side. That just flattened this area to try and give us the ability to take the point, but of course the SU-152 3-star veterancy is going to be very effective at cleaning up infantry across the open, so that's not too good. And we've also lost control of this objective. Oh, I don't think we had that objective, and I think we lost control of this objective, so we're back to 14 to 12. We're actually going to lose in 9 minutes and 32 seconds at this rate. Now, I really didn't want to lose this again because we'd already lost this battle technically once. It was on a different map, but we'd already tried to attack the Allied midsection in this multiplayer campaign, and we got pushed back in the epic 2-hour game. And this was really like shaping up to be a long one. We are currently 50 minutes and 45 seconds into this game, and it's more or less like even on flags. Like, that is how ridiculous these games were. Anyway, the Pioneers are going to be getting the better of the Gvardia, of course. Panzergrens versus Tankos. These Tankos aren't the ones with Molotovs yet that were introduced in the latest patch. These are an old version, as this was played on a previous patch. But this Pack 40 is now opening up. Robot Penguins brought in some T-34s to reinforce Copenhagen, and I'm able to take some shots towards these in order to find side shots and such, or even kills in that case. Yak-1B bombing strike coming in. Those fighter bombers coming in to just basically help surrender a lot of these units. There's a Fox gonna lose a unit to surrender on the right hand side. Bombing strike hits the Pack 40 pretty hard. And this engagement's going to come down to whoever recovers first. And since neither has any leaders, it's going to be hard to say, but I think Robot Penguin, he had a unit that was basically not pinned, and so could take them all down. I mean, a large air engagement, as you can see. Fighters everywhere. Absolutely awesome stuff. AA flying up on all sides. I think overall our team ended up coming out on top in that one because we shot down most of their fighters with our AA after the initial air engagements. You just hear here the Yak-3 going down. I think it got to a point where our enemies were just like leaving them in the sky because they thought they were already dead. Which is sometimes what I do. Like, if I put my fighters into an air engagement, sometimes I'll just leave them to it if I think they're going to die. But my 120mm on the left now coming under pretty heavy counter battery. Even though they haven't really fired in a while. But it turned out that Tanko ended up thinking that I was using the counter battery order, so he ended up using it himself, which is probably the explanation for why those ended up dying, even though I was barely using them this point in the match, because I wasn't really putting any focus on the left side at the end of the day. I was putting focus on the right hand side and making sure that all of my ammo went to my 150 mils and the 220 mils that you can see back here. But a lot of these have used up ammunition as well. This multi-ammunitions ran out. I mean, this is only on 5 shells. I think they come in with like 20 odd. So, yeah, we're getting low on ammunition. I'm just starting to bring in... I did like a massive order here of Opel Blitz, as you can see, just to replace all the multis that had run out. It's crazy. Getting through so much ammunition. Anyway, my Panzergrenadiers have made a lot of ground. I sort of led the charge and Happy's followed me up. We've managed to take control of this area with a little bit of help from bombing strikes and also artillery, which is now capturing the crossroads once again. Now 14 to 12 in our favour, and that's all good. We've also managed to get an infantry squad towards this area. I've got a bunch of Panzergrenadiers just hiding behind this building, hoping they're not going to get shot from the hill. And Lycus has a Panther D here and the Tiger E ready to shoot anything that comes to the edge. Now, a really good job by Lycus actually using an Aufteiler Panther D, because it is going to spot anything like a T-34 or an SU-152 that actually comes to the edge of the tree line. So he's always going to be able to spot those and kill them, and from that range, the Tiger and Panther D will always have the advantage against those kinds of units. So we're able to now basically hold on to this objective, but maybe not necessarily the town. Didn't matter regardless, as you can see, we are focusing heavily on this right hand side. I basically said to the team that since we'd taken this area and we had a large amount of control in these trees, that we should maybe try and focus on taking this objective if we could secure our way through these trees. And since I still had quite a lot of artillery online, it's going to be nice for me to sort of start pinning units there so we can just run forwards and surrender them. There's also a lot of like artillery here, as you can see, so we're going to want to try and get on top of that as soon as possible. Started moving forwards my SDKF Z7 ones to just kind of provide a bit of AA at closer range. And this is just going to shut down anything that tries to go for shots onto the hill now, because we're going to be right up close to their air spawn. A ranged engagement between Panzergrenadiers and Gvardia. With the 2-star veterancy, we should win that engagement, but saying that, we're in light cover, they're in heavy cover, so that's a big difference there. And one thing that actually wasn't, or won't be shown because we're using the special viewer to watch the replay, I do have this command here that's providing the extra command to the SDKF Z71s, but if you take a good look, if I just stop moving the camera for a second, there are a lot of leader units, like this Battlefjorder here, there's another Battlefjorder here from Happy. Then there's the Stug 3. I'm bringing up 2 Stug 3 G Führers. I've brought up Panzergun Führers, and this commander is connected to all of those different leaders, providing pretty much 2-star and 3-star veterancy across the board, which is really, really nice. So all of our units in the late game had really high veterancy, which was fantastic for getting value from them. And I think it definitely helped us push through these tree lines. We managed to surrender the units on the right hand side here, and I'm helping Desert Fox put a bit more pressure onto this flag, but the enemy team now trying to react to this push by bringing in pretty much most of their players onto this side. You got Copenhagen here, you got Knife Guy, you saw Tanko there with the tank, and Robot Penguins there with an M17, so yeah, it's getting pretty crazy. Yak 1Bs all over the place. They were coming in for bombing strikes, but why go for bombing strikes when you can shoot down at ME410s? And that was just unfortunate timing there for Happy. Loses quite a few of these ME410s, but ultimately Lycus responds with 2 more Yak 1B kills there. Focke-Wulf goes down, another Focke-Wulf goes down, massive engagement. AA is trying to do its best to keep up. Got these all on attack move orders again as the aircraft come in, as I explained earlier, just to keep them on the move so that if they try and counter battery, they will ultimately have moved by the time the artillery comes in. We have the Tigers here. They're trying to engage the T-34s out in the open there. This open field, absolute turkey shoot for Tigers. Lovely stuff. Great job by Lycos actually to bring them through there, and after all of those fighters came in, I basically perceived that it would be relatively safe to bring in my ME-410s to make those bombing strikes, and it seemed as though I was more or less correct. I think all of them got out alive, or maybe not that one, never mind, jinxed it, there he goes. But still, 5 out of 6 getting out, pretty nice. And I am putting pressure onto all of the AA there to make that happen as well, with my artillery. The Tu-2Ss, damn, these things are really, really difficult to kill. I think they are similar to Boston, sorry about the camera there. They're similar to Boston's in terms of their durability, so only ended up shooting down 1 Tu-2S, even though we have 3 SDKF Z71s, which is crazy, because you see they just slice through the yaks. No problem. Look at all that AA. And Lycos has still got his SDKF Z71 on the left as well. Otherwise it's just 20 mils across the board, as you can see. So now we've got artillery coming in onto this point. We're going to have to try and break that down. This Stug 3 actually, it was an absolute king. It was just shooting down this road and killing off T-34-76s. Artillery now coming in onto the SDKF Z71s. Did manage to kill off 2 of them before I saw, though that was pretty unfortunate. I got them a bit too close for comfort there. But check out this road, guys. Dead T-34, the Studbergers, that T-34 going down. It's just an absolutely insane battlefield. It just looks so cool. More of my artillery coming in. I had a lot of these 120mm mortars. We did actually cut these down after the game. So the deck compositions that you see at the start of the video are different to the ones that we had in game for the most part, because we were constantly making adjustments. This was the first ever multiplayer campaign that there was. But either way, yeah, the 120mm mortars, they're just going to be focusing on the 37mm. I'm not really going to have much ammo left for them, but even more 120mm mortars now coming in just to help us continue to break down this defense. We have managed to take this point, which is going to make us 15-11. Got the crossroads, and 2 out of the 3 initial objectives are held. Unfortunately, this town was just a little bit too much after conceding the left-hand side. And we're managing to hold on to this objective by the skin of our teeth as well. Now, that's one thing that you can do in Steel Division quite often, is you can just have like a single unit hold a flag for a very long time, because people always perceive there to be more than there is. I used to call it, back in the day, the wargame syndrome for Wargamer Dragon, when people would not push an objective because they thought that there was something there, but at the end of the day there wasn't. They used to like play defensively in an area where they otherwise could have probed and found that there was nothing there. And this is exactly the same sort of deal in Steel Division, although it's a little bit more pronounced in Steel Division because of the frontline mechanic. So it looks like there's something here because of the frontline. It looks like there's quite a lot of presence. I mean, obviously there is in this case, but maybe not here. Well, again, saying that, it looks like there is, and there's a couple of tigers. Point being, let's say here, there's an 81mm mortar holding the front line. That's the point I'm trying to get at. Regardless, on this right-hand side, Desert Fox still making ground. Like, this guy, Desert Fox, fantastic job throughout this game. Really held up the team when it got tough, and allowed us to work together to bring this back through the forest. But it's not over yet, because 19 minutes and 35 seconds left to go until victory. And as you can see on the mini-map in the top right, I just pinged this objective. Now the ping's not going to come up on the map. You can see the flare. The ping doesn't come up because we're in the special viewer. But I really, really want to take this objective just to kind of speed things up a bit. and basically get a dominating victory over our opponents after having previously failed to attack the midline. Like, I really wanted to be successful this time around. So more 120mm mortars is what we need, of course, and bring in more and more artillery. I don't actually have much supply left at this point. You can see I'm draining all of my SFH 150mm and all these Opel Blitzes I brought in with them. My SK100s actually were offline for a lot of this time. You know, I haven't used much of the ammunition from these. I think I just didn't have them bound or accidentally unbound them. Something like that. Anyway, IL-2's coming in. They're going to try and rocket a few of these units on the left side of the hill. Tanko looking for a few kills there. The thing I found weird about this was, unless there's a big push coming in here, not much point in making that kind of attack. Be much better off saving them to break down tanks in the trees here that are potentially spotted by infantry. But at the same time, I think at this point in the game, our opponents had like not much infantry left, probably to contest this area. And just look at this area as well. Like, you don't want to bring in IL-2s here at the end of the day. It's just so much AA. Anything that gets focused for long enough is going to die. Look at that, Yak 3 just like almost instantly shot down. That Yak 3 taking a lot of fire is going to get out. A couple of them quite lucky there to survive. Anyway, still pushing forwards. Grenadier's going to find an 82mm mortar. That's how far we've got now through the front line. We're bumping into Copenhagen's mortars, which were probably initially there to support on the right side. Anyway, Su-152s are still coming up. There's a very nicely concentrated battery of units there that I'm going to want to attack. Now, all of my artillery pieces are nice and spread out at this point. You can see I'm using different orders to just demolish this heavy cover so that we can continue to hold on to that objective. My artillery was pretty important for taking care of this area, because if they stand a unit here, they're always going to have more presence on this flag than we are, being in this area. So making sure that they're always pinned down there means they have less effect on the front line. Big old bombing strike coming in from Happy here. That's going to pin down most of the stuff in those trees, allowing Desert Fox to push up with his Panzergrens. Tanko brought in a lot of Yak 1Bs. 2 of those are going to be going down, and the amount of aircraft that actually died in this game was ludicrous. Anyway, ME-410's now coming in for the bombing strike. Yak 3's trying to get onto the back of the ME-410s, straight into the AA net. Both Yak 3's go down. My ME-410 survive. That carpet bomb just obliterates whatever's in there. Another Yak 3 coming in gets shot down. Now my ME-410's coming in with the bigger bombs. These ones have the 250kg bombs. They're going for the bomb drop onto the Su-76s. So large concentration of units here. In comes the bombs. Managed to kill a few of the Su-76 MPTs. We killed the unit that was there as well. I think that was one of the F-22s, or potentially like a ZIS-3 or something. But either way, all 4 of those got out, which was really nice. And I'm also now putting a lot of my artillery onto this. Like, this is a lot of mortars coming in here at the moment, just to prevent anything from coming down this crossroads. If we can prevent the reinforcing roads, then we're in a great position. And Lycus more or less has his Tigers in position to do so if he moves them a little bit more forwards. And then I can just continuously RT this road, which is the only road that allows them to come over here, and then they would have to come across the bridge as well, which leaves them quite exposed. So that's why we ended up just focusing on this objective here, because we can cover it well. And this Stig 3, I mentioned how it did really well for me. It's just that Stig 3 Führer, it managed to get so many like nice kills. Like this time around, it's shooting at the 120mm mortar. It was shooting at the T-34 1942, but oh, look at the amount arty come in. There we go, we got line of sight directly onto the 120mm mortars. I'm just trying to hit them best I can. Big old IL-2 train now coming in on the right hand side, because Desert Fox and Lycus have built up a huge force of tanks here. Let's just go down to the tank's perspective. Check out that air engagement over the top. Beautiful. And down below, it's an absolute mess. It's an absolute mess. T-34's dead everywhere. It just doesn't get more epic than this. Like, everywhere you go, you've got some Russians crawling away there, some dead ones. There's 3 falling back. M17s. Another Su-152 goes down. It's just nuts. Absolutely nuts. Anyway. I did get some pings from teammates to kind of flatten this area with some AA, or artillery, sorry, so you can see all my 120mm mortars just coming down on that area now. And, well, we got there. We captured the next objective. We're now 16 to 10, 6 minutes and 25 seconds until victory. What has been an absolute slog was actually just a really, really nice effort from my team. Like, Happy and Lycus, I think the best thing about the team in this case was we didn't really get disheartened, and I really have a lot of respect for Happy and Lycus for coming back from what was a very difficult situation here, because I basically dropped the ball on the left side by letting them have the hill so quickly. It is partly due to the limitations of my deck, but I know I made some micro mistakes here. And then having to like make up for that in order to win over what was potentially going to be a very long game in order to do so. Like, really, it was just really, really nice. And I think everybody had great fun just like pushing through here and working together to make this happen. And you can see I'm still making that command network I was talking about. I've got the commander here, and it's connected to all of these leaders that I'm using alongside friendly troops to keep up the veterancy on as many units as possible. Now all my big artillery is still firing away. I'm having them basically target the choke point here where the T-34-85s are coming in and the Su-152s. And one thing that did surprise me was the amount of Su-152s that Robot Penguin had access to at the end here. But either way, as they were coming down the road, they were all stopping and stopping each other because of that, right on where I put the artillery order. I select my artillery. I can show you guys. They were pointed exactly there. So as they kept getting stuck, they were just getting forced back straight after. Now at this point, my 120mm mortars were getting really low on ammunition, and I was basically running out of Opal Blitzers. I think I pretty much used them all up at this point. These ME-410s coming in with their bombing strikes as well. The ME-410s there, they're going to be bombing out these Su-152s. If you use enough bombs, you can kill armor, guys, and that's exactly what we managed to do. And the nice thing about that second lot of ME-410s coming in was that they stopped the AA hitting the first lot, meaning we didn't actually lose any. Now, Tanko, he'd had enough of my poor Stug G-Führer here. Ended up killing that with 3 IL-2s. It was rather nasty. Big bombing strike though from Happy. Manages to get rid of the Montrazvedka and a lot of the infantry squad that had been brought in by Robot Penguin to try and contest this flag. But 3 minutes and 30 seconds left in this game. Our opponents have a lot of their units choked into the top right corner right now. And yeah, I mean, it just comes down to the change in tack on the strategy. I lost this left side. I didn't realize how much it would affect the town. So I basically ended up about half an hour, 40 minutes into the game saying let's focus primarily on these 2 objectives, and then when I saw that we were making ground in the forest here, decided that we would take, or try to take, this furthest right objective to win the game, since we basically propelled ourselves off Desert Fox's great early to mid game. And in the late game it just, for him, turned into a long range brawl here. You can see just likes his troops trying to back him up, but ultimately it just turned into an absolute death sentence for any tank that came in here. All these Panzer IVs burning up, all the Panthers burning up. Oh, there goes that one. The artillery comes in. I mean, you can just look at the screen right now. I can barely move without bumping into something that's firing at it. And that was just all the Su-152 shells coming in, so any tank was just getting flattened by HE. Desert Foxes just have had enough. They're going to be retreating for the time being. And ultimately, I was just telling the team to try and defend this objective. Great job. I can't remember who suggested it, but one of my team suggested that we smoke the objective so that the Sturm Pioneers can push forwards. I think it was probably Desert Fox by the looks of things. Using his Sturm Pioneer, then he can throw down smoke to hold the objective and stand on top of it. I mean, there's only like 1 minute and 50 left, so we may as well just make a play like this to hold on to that objective. So really, really good shout. And meanwhile, yeah, the artillery's still going to be helping out. Actually, no. Never mind, my SFHs, like a lot of these 150mm, had run out of ammunition, so I was using their smoke shells. I did have this mortier back here that I didn't realise was there. I think that was left there from where I'd initially accidentally moved the 150mm forwards. I do still have the 220mm online. They still had some HE left, so they are still focusing on where the Su-152s are coming through, and that's holding them back for the time being. But here comes a couple of Tu-2Ss. They're going to be trying to bomb these Tigers and such. And there's another kill from artillery. One of those bombers did go down. My poor motorcycle got hit by those bombs. But yeah, it's got to a point now where my artillery's broken down a lot of the AA, so the bombers are really free to just come on in. And as well as that, I mean, Lycus, he's got his tanks now up in position. They are able to also hit the AA from range. And now, what, 35 seconds left on the clock. I'm going to be bringing in the rest of my ME410s for more bombing strikes. We're going to go for the shots here onto the Ziz 3s just to kill them off. There's also an OB next to that, 2 support weapons for the price of 1 ME410. I will take it. Unfortunately, didn't get the kill straight away there, but those ME410s coming in onto the D3485, going to overwhelm that 37mm with some bombs as well. Don't manage to kill it, but do manage to pin it down. And, well, there we go. 2 seconds left. Job done. What a battle that was. You just saw the destruction there when I was zooming in on that right-hand side. 75 minutes and 43 seconds. My voice is done, guys. So I really hope you enjoyed that, because it was epic. And I was really, really annoyed when I basically looked at the footage that I had of this played live and realized that like the audio had messed up due to my capture card like basically being annoying recently. So yeah, I was really frustrated, and I knew that I would get around to recording it again, but obviously it's hard work to constantly talk about stuff for an hour. Well, not necessarily like finding stuff to talk about, because I love talking about Steel Division, but just it's a strain on my voice, let's put it that way. In the end, 10,515 kills to 4,410 losses for myself. A lot of that comes down to the fact that I'm artillery focused, so it looks like a good KD, but that's because I probably lost everything that I had on the front line there anyway. So there we go. Like isn't happy. Really good job. Especially just like coming back from like a really sort of dire situation. We were only like 10 minutes from losing at one point, but because of Desert Fox's really good job on the right hand side, we were able to change our strategy and win the game. So yeah, and positive kill death across the board for the team. Let's just have a quick look at the kills. So 120mm mortar did okay. Pack 38 there, getting 2 T-34-76 kills is quite nice. But look at these 220mm. So these 220mm are just like so damn good. They're fantastic for counter battery because they again have a really good dispersion, like very small dispersion. So I'm basically counter battering a lot of tank holes artillery with these, and they're also good for focusing down tanks because they're still very powerful regardless. The 150mm, they are more for like killing support weapons and stuff, and also tanks if you get corrected shot with radios. The SDKFZ-71s really paid themselves off nicely by killing lots of IL-2Ms and Yak-3s, but again, the 220mm really star of the show, killing a lot of the SU-152s there that were coming in on the right-hand side, but also making sure that I was counter-battering with these was very important. Here is the Stug 3 I was talking about, the absolute hero that killed off 2 Stug 3s, or Zis 3, sorry, T-34s, a 120mm mortar and the M17. Another SDKZ-71 doing really well for us. But yeah, artillery and AA picking up most of the kills for me personally. Losses, not too much to look at here, just kind of knife guy cutting through my light defense on the left side. And then it just comes down to any spare units that I had to support my teammates getting killed, or maybe a few ME410s getting shot down. So yeah, there you go. What a battle. And of course, the Axis side has won. So that means we are now taking up position on the Axis middle, ready in our next turn to attack the Allied base if we don't get pushed back by the Soviets in the next turn. It's going to be the Soviet turn now. They are now pushed back to their base. They need to decide whether or not they're going to attack us back, or maybe try and unlock a division for the defense on the breakthrough. Anyway, that is it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. It was certainly worth the watch, I hope. And I also hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.